Smoke rose from the burning wreckage of the battlefield. The ground was cracked, soaked in blood, ash, and fuel. The sky above wasn't blue anymore, it was gray, thick with dust and the smell of death. Soldiers had either run, died, or been dragged away. But one figure lay motionless among the twisted metal and torn flags, a warrior with silver skin and no legs. She was an alien. Tall, strong once, but now broken. Her breathing was shallow. Her armor was cracked open, and both legs were gone. Below the knee. Her people, the Velari, had already left her behind. Their ships had pulled out an hour ago, retreating when the front lines fell. No one even checked if she was still alive, but someone was still there. A human marine, his armor, dented and bleeding from a wound at his side, crawled toward her. His name was Sergeant Cole Mercer. He had fought against the Velari for weeks. She was supposed to be his enemy. But when he saw her lying in the mud, legs gone, eyes half closed in pain, something in him refused to move on. He reached her side and saw her blinking, still alive. Barely. "You're not dead," he said, more surprised than anything. "Why the hell didn't they take you?" She opened her mouth. No sound came out at first. Then, in a dry whisper, she said, "Not useful anymore." Cole looked around. The battlefield was silent except for the distant sound of ships fleeing. He could leave too. His own extraction team had called in their pickup coordinates. They'd be gone in 10 minutes, but his boots stayed planted in the dirt. The alien woman's skin was slick with blue blood. Her breathing was shallow. Cole knew what this meant. She had maybe half an hour, and only if someone stopped the bleeding. She wasn't screaming or crying. She just stared at the sky like she had already accepted it. He should have walked away. He should have let her die, but he couldn't. Hell with it. He muttered and knelt beside her. He tore off part of his field kit and pressed the cloth hard against the stumps where her legs used to be. She gasped, sharp and pained, but didn't stop him. "I need a med patch," he said to himself, checking his gear. He had only one left. It was meant for himself, but he didn't hesitate. He slapped it onto the wound. It hissed as it activated, sealing part of the damage. Not perfect, but it slowed the bleeding. Her eyes followed his movements. She tried to speak again, and this time her voice was clearer. "Why?" Cole didn't answer right away. He just kept working, pressing pressure points, using every trick he knew. Then, quietly, he said, "Because you're not dead yet." She blinked. That was all the reaction she gave. His cum device crackled. "Mercer, where the hell are you?" "Evac in 3 minutes." "Repeat 3 minutes." He looked at the alien woman, then at the sky, where a single dropship hovered in the far distance. 3 minutes. If he ran, he'd make it. If he stayed, he'd be stuck here with her. Cole made a decision. He grabbed her by the shoulders and started pulling. She groaned from the pain, but she didn't fight him. Her body was too weak for that. "Don't die on me now," he said, through gritted teeth. "You're not allowed to." He dragged her through the mud, over dead bodies, past fallen machines. The dropship's engines grew louder, wind kicking up dust and ash around them. But he was too far. It was lifting already. "Wait!" He shouted into his comm. "Wait! I have a wounded." The signal went dead. The dropship was gone. Cole stood still, chest heaving, holding the half-dead alien in his arms as the last chance to leave vanished into the sky. The only sound now was the wind and the slow thump of her heart against his hand. He lowered her gently back to the ground, sitting beside her. "Well," he muttered, "looks like we're stuck together." She closed her eyes again. "You are strange for a human." "You're not the first one to say that," he said, trying to give her a weak smile. They were behind enemy lines, in a war zone without backup, food, or med support. She was crippled and he was bleeding. But something about this moment felt important. Two enemies. Abandoned. Left to die, but neither one willing to let the other go. The war had taken everything from both of them. But something new, something strange had just begun. The night came fast on the dead battlefield. Cold wind blew across the broken land. Fires from fallen ships still burned in the distance, giving off a faint orange light. Cole Mercer sat with his back against a half-destroyed walker, the alien woman resting beside him. She hadn't spoken again since they were left behind. Her name, he later learned, was Saika. She was a Valari shock captain. Tough, feared, the kind that led charges through blaster fire. But now she was quiet and weak, her armor cracked open, legs gone, body shaking from blood loss and pain. The med patch had stopped most of the bleeding, but her skin was pale, almost gray. Cole knew she needed real medical help. He also knew help wasn't coming. He checked his gear again. One half-empty water pouch, a few energy bars, a low charge rifle, and a flare gun with only one shot left. Not much, Seika stirred. Her hand reached weakly toward her waist where her plasma knife used to be. It was gone, lost in the mud. Rest, Cole said softly. You're safe, at least for now. She opened one eye, still weak. Why didn't you leave? He didn't answer at first. Then he said, because I've seen what war does. Doesn't matter what species you are. When someone's left to die like that, it's not right. Seika looked at him for a long moment, then closed her eyes again. Your kind is strange. Cole gave a tired smile. Yeah, we get that a lot. The ground rumbled suddenly. A low hum echoed from the east. Cole's eyes snapped up. Lights, a patrol. He peeked over the wreckage. Several Valari scouts were moving through the wreckage, searching bodies, looking for survivors or tech worth salvaging. Their weapons were drawn. Cole froze. If they found him, they'd shoot on sight. He was the enemy. If they found Seika alive beside a human, they'd probably shoot her too for failing. He leaned close to her. Don't move. Quiet. Patrol. She didn't answer, but her body tensed slightly. The scouts came closer. Cole held his breath. They were less than 30 feet away now. One of the Valari aimed his weapon at a human corpse nearby, then kicked it. Another scanned the area with his visor. Slowly turning toward Cole's hiding spot, Cole slid down low, trying to hide Seika's body with his own. He readied the flare gun not to fire it, but as a last defense. It wasn't made for fighting. But if aimed at someone's face... The scout's footsteps got louder. Then suddenly static over a Valari comlink. Order received. Pull back. No survivors worth collecting. The patrol turned away. Within seconds, they were gone. Cole let out a long breath. His hands were shaking. You protected me, Seika said weakly. You're still breathing, he replied. I'd like to keep it that way. He gave her a few drops of water. She drank slowly, her lips dry and cracked. Even in pain, she showed no weakness in her eyes. You'll need more than that, he muttered. We both will. The next morning, Cole fashioned the sled from scrap metal and leftover wiring. It wasn't smooth, but it could carry her. He tied a belt around his waist and began to pull her through the broken wasteland, step by slow step. You're going to kill yourself doing this, Seika said. Probably, he said, but not today. The sun was brutal. The land was cruel. Broken machines and bodies lay in every direction. Cole limped with every step, but he didn't stop. When Seika passed out, he didn't panic. He just checked her pulse and kept moving. When his vision blurred, he forced himself to drink the last of the water, then tore off a piece of his sleeve to block the sun from her face. Hours passed. At one point, he stumbled. Fell to his knees. You should leave me, Seika whispered. I will die anyway. Shut up, Cole said, pushing himself to stand again. I didn't pull your silver-blooded self across a graveyard to hear that. She actually smiled, just a little. The first time, that night, they found a wrecked supply pod half buried in rubble, human tech. Cole forced it open. Inside was a survival kit, rations, water, medical foam. Thank God, he muttered. He applied the foam to her wounds. Gave her real water. Fed her in small bites. You're not like the others, Seika said quietly. You don't act like a killer. I've killed plenty, Cole replied. But that doesn't mean I like it. She looked at him for a long time, and then she whispered, You remind me of someone I lost. He didn't ask who. The stars above them blinked in the black sky. They were enemies once. Now they were two forgotten souls in a land that didn't care if they lived or died. But Cole had made a choice, and Seika was still alive because of it, and he wasn't planning on stopping now. The nights were the worst. Cold, silent, and full of strange sounds. Creatures roamed the battlefield after dark. Some fed on the dead. Others weren't that patient. Cole stayed awake with his rifle in hand. He didn't sleep much. His body ached. His muscles screamed, but he kept his eyes open, always listening. Seika slept more now, her breathing stronger. The med foam had helped. Her skin was no longer deathly pale, but her legs gone forever. She didn't talk much. But when she did, her voice had changed, softer, not weak, just. Less like a soldier and more like a person. What do you think will happen if we're found? She asked one evening, staring at the cracked sky. Cole didn't answer right away. He looked around the ruined wasteland. Depends who finds us. If your people find me, you'll probably be taken as a prisoner. And if yours find me first? Cole looked at her. Would you tell them not to kill me? I would try, she said, then after a pause added, but I'm not sure they'd listen. Cole gave a dry chuckle. Sounds about right. They didn't need to say it out loud, but both of them knew the truth. Neither side would want this. A human soldier and a Valari captain helping each other survive? That was betrayal, treason, for both of them, but they didn't care. Cole built a small shelter from metal scraps and canvas. It wasn't much, but it kept the rain off. Every morning he cleaned her wounds, checked her pulse, and forced her to eat even when she didn't want to. You treat me like you're wounded, she said one morning. You are, he replied simply. She blinked. But I'm not human. No, he agreed, but you bleed the same. The days passed slowly. Cole searched old crash sites for supplies. Sometimes he found batteries or food packs. Sometimes just bodies. Every time he came back, he brought something useful. A blanket, a new water filter. A bit more hope. One day, while he was out searching, Seika heard something. A low, steady hum. At first she thought it was the wind, but it was two even engines. She dragged herself to the edge of the shelter and peeked out. A Valari scout drone. It was scanning the area. She knew what it meant. If it spotted them, a full strike team would follow. Not to rescue Valari didn't take back wounded warriors. Especially not one seen with an enemy. She reached for a nearby rock. Her hands shook. She waited. Watched the drone slowly pass by, scanning. Its sensors flicked toward the shelter. She threw the rock with all her strength. It struck a nearby pipe. The sound echoed sharp. The drone turned away to investigate the noise. Seconds later, it moved on. Seika collapsed back into the shelter, chest rising and falling fast. She had just saved them. When Cole returned that evening, she told him what happened. You risked yourself to protect me? He asked. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. Now we're even, he smiled. Not even close. That night, they both stayed awake. There was no more time to wait. The Velari were scanning the region. It meant one thing: the battle had ended, and now the cleanup had begun, which meant they would be found. One side or the other, we need to move, Cole said. I can't walk. Then I'll carry you. You'll never make it. I didn't ask for the odds, he said. Just your permission. She was quiet. Then she nodded. You are more stubborn than any Velari I've met. I'll take that as a compliment. He packed what little they had, wrapped her carefully in thermal cloth, and lifted her onto his back. She was heavier than she looked, armor and all, but he didn't complain. Step by step, he moved north. There were mountains up there, and beyond the range, maybe a relay station, maybe a signal, maybe a chance that each step hurt. Each breath burned. But he didn't stop. Sika's arms were wrapped around his shoulders. She wasn't unconscious. She was watching him. Why do you keep doing this? She asked again. Because I see the person, he said, not just the enemy. That silenced her. But deep down, something in her cracked open. The part of her heart that had been hardened by war, duty, and loss had softened out because for the first time in her life, someone was carrying her. Not as a prisoner or a burden, but as someone worth saving. Asterisk, the path ahead was rough, filled with sharp rocks, old debris, and scorched metal from fallen aircraft. Cole's boots slipped more than once as he carried Seika on his back. The mountains were closer now, but not close enough. His breath was heavy. His legs were shaking. But he kept walking. Every time he thought of stopping, he looked back at her face, quiet, tired, but watching him. That was enough to keep moving. On the third day of travel, they found an abandoned Velari outpost hidden under a rocky cliff. Its entrance was half covered by a landslide. Cole almost missed it, but the faint glow of energy behind the rubble caught his eye. He set Seika down gently, then worked to clear the entrance. It took hours, his hands bleeding from sharp rocks, but finally the door opened with a groan. The inside was dark, dusty, but safe. Cole carried Seika in and placed her on a padded bench. The outpost had once been used for recon units. It had power cells, a med station, and even a small supply of Velari rations. Seika looked around, surprised. I didn't think these were still here. Guess we got lucky, Cole said. He moved fast. The med unit still worked, and even though it was alien tech, he figured out how to use it. He cleaned her wounds again, injected a small dose of nutrient gel, and scanned her vitals. You'll live, he said. Thanks to you, she whispered. He looked at her. You're not the only one who's lost people. She tilted her head. You lost someone? He nodded. My brother. Same war. Different front. He died saving civilians. Nobody ever honored it. Just another name on a wall. I'm sorry, she said. They both sat in silence for a while. The outpost was quiet, peaceful in a strange way. Sika's body was weak, but her mind was sharper. She could think clearly now. And the more she watched Cole, the more she realized this. Human wasn't like the others she'd fought. You could have used this place for yourself, she said. Rested, healed, left me behind. I already made my choice, he replied. Later that night, while Cole slept for the first time in days, Seika rolled off the bench and dragged herself to the comms panel. Her fingers hovered over the buttons. She knew the emergency codes. She could send a Velari beacon right now. Her people would come. They might rescue her. But Cole? They'd kill him. She stared at the panel for a long time. Then she pulled her hand away. When Cole woke, he found her staring at the ceiling. You didn't call them, he said. He had seen the open panel. No, she answered. Why? Because they wouldn't understand. Understand what? That I don't want you to die. Cole was silent. His throat felt tight. You could still leave, she said. They'd welcome you back. I'm not leaving without you. Her voice dropped low. And if they come anyway, then we fight. She looked up at him. You'd fight your own side? I'd fight anyone who tries to kill you. For the first time, she looked away. Her breathing was uneven. You shouldn't say things like that. Why not? Because I don't know what to do with them. He didn't answer. He just sat beside her, the silence between them deeper than words. The next morning, a storm hit. Harsh winds. Red sand. Lightning strikes that shook the rocks. The outpost creaked under the force, but it held. For 2 days they remained inside. Cole fixed the power core and restored lighting. Seika taught him how to prepare Villari food so it didn't make his stomach twist. They laughed once, just once, but it was real. Then on the third morning, the warning light flashed on the wall. A signal was nearby Villari, a ship. A big one. Cole stood slowly. They're coming. Seika said nothing. He checked his rifle. Fully charged. Then he grabbed the flare gun and stared at it. I can shoot it. Call for my side instead, he sighed. They might help. Seika stared at him. And what would they do when they find me here? I don't know. Then don't light it, he nodded. Then turned away from the launcher. The Villari ship was close now. Cole looked out. Through a crack in the wall. A large gunship hovered just beyond the cliff, its weapons armed, its scanners sweeping. He turned back. If they find us, they'll destroy the outpost. I know, Seika said. So we hide? No, she said. We talk. You think they'll listen? She looked at him. They'll listen to me. The Villari ship hovered like a shadow over the mountain cliff, engines humming low, shaking loose stones from the ridge. Cole watched it through a narrow slit in the outpost wall. He could see the twin barrel cannons. If they opened fire, this place would become dust. Inside, Seika pulled herself upright on the bench. Her face was pale but determined. She had removed the outer layer of her damaged armor and now wore a dark undersuit that showed the long scars down her side. Her legs were gone, but her warrior pride was not. Help me to the outside, she said. You're not strong enough, Cole said. I don't need strength. I need to be seen. He hesitated, then knelt beside her. Carefully, he lifted her in his arms again and carried her toward the outpost's upper hatch. A broken ladder led to a small platform with a faded Villari signal plate. He placed her down. Against it. The wind was loud up there. Her long silver hair whipped across her face as she activated her personal ID chip. A small blue light blinked. Seconds later, the Villari ship responded with its own signal. It slowed, then hovered in place. A beam of light scanned the platform. They've seen me, she said. Her voice was steady. Now we wait. Cole stayed behind her, rifle hidden but ready. If they come down shooting, I'm not running. They won't shoot, not if they believe I'm still a captain. A moment passed. Then another. A side door on the ship opened. 2 Villari soldiers dropped down on anti-grav packs. They landed hard, weapons drawn, scanning the area. When they saw Seika, their postures stiffened. Captain Seika? One of them called out in their native tongue. I am alive, she answered. Injured, but alive. They approached slowly. Then they saw Cole standing behind her. One soldier raised his rifle immediately. Lower your weapon, Seika ordered. Her voice, even weak, carried weight. He is the enemy, the soldier protested. He is the reason I'm not dead. That froze them. The second soldier frowned. You were found with a human. That alone means nothing unless you make it mean something, she snapped. Her tone reminded them of her rank, her history. She had led 3 successful campaigns, saved entire units. Even without legs, her name still carried power. Cole stood quiet, watching every movement. His fingers itched near his trigger, but he waited. The two Velari soldiers looked at each other, confused. "What are your orders, Captain?" "Call your commander. Tell him Captain Seika lives. Tell him she has information worth hearing. And tell him if he wants to ignore me, he'll lose more than a soldier." The soldiers hesitated. Then one of them activated his comlink and stepped away to transmit. Cole leaned down to whisper. "You're playing a dangerous game." She didn't smile. "I've always played dangerous games." Minutes passed. Then the soldier returned. "The commander says, you are to be brought aboard." "And him?" she asked, nodding toward Cole. "He is not welcome." Cole's jaw tightened. Seika didn't look away from the soldier. "Then I stay." "Captain, that is final," she said sharply. "This human saved my life. He carried me, protected me. If you leave him, you leave me." The two soldiers were clearly troubled. They weren't used to defiance, especially not from someone like her. Cole said quietly, "You don't have to do this." "I do," she replied. "Because if I abandon you now, then I become the same as those who left me behind." A long silence followed. Then the Velari soldier sighed. "Our commander will not be happy." "Tell your commander," Seika said, "that if he rejects me now, he rejects the last hope of peace with the humans." The soldier narrowed his eyes. "What are you saying?" "I've learned things, seen things, and I know this war cannot be won by either side. But if you want what I know, you bring both of us. Double quotes again. They hesitated. Then one nodded. "Prepare for boarding." Cole looked at her. "You just made yourself a target." "I was already one," she replied. They were loaded into the ship together. The inside was silent, cold, full of alien light and humming metal. The other soldiers kept their distance, eyes on Cole, fingers near triggers, but no one stopped them. Inside the medbay, Seika was moved to a healing chamber. Her vitals were stabilized and her wounds treated by advanced tech. Cole wasn't allowed to leave her side. She insisted on it. "You know," he whispered as she was lowered into the chamber, "this is either really brave or really stupid." Her voice was weak, but there was a fire in her eyes. "I've made worse bets." Then she slept, finally safe for now, and Cole stood beside her, surrounded by alien warriors, waiting to see what came next. Because now, things were no longer just about survival. Now it was about what kind of future they would fight for. The Velari warship floated high above the ruins of the battlefield, silent like a ghost. Inside, the air was tight with tension. Cole stood in a corner of the medical chamber, his hands behind his back, two guards watching him like hawks. But they hadn't tried to harm him yet. Captain Seika lay inside a recovery pod, half submerged in glowing blue fluid. Her body was healing faster now. Advanced Velari tech had already closed the deeper wounds. Her lower limbs were still missing, but her skin had regained its color. She looked stronger every day. Still, Cole couldn't relax. He hadn't seen the ship's commander yet. No one spoke to him except for short commands. "Sit. Move. Wait." They made it clear he was tolerated, not trusted. After 2 days, that changed. A soldier entered the medbay. "The commander will see you." Cole glanced at Seika. Her eyes were closed, still resting. He nodded and followed the soldier down a long corridor filled with strange lights and alien glyphs. His boots echoed against the floor. When the door to the command deck opened, he stepped into a space full of quiet authority. Commander Viruk stood near a curved window, arms behind his back, staring out at the stars. "You are the human who carried one of our own," Viruk said. Without turning, Cole stayed silent. "You saved her life." "That's unexpected." "She would have died alone," Cole answered simply. Viruk finally turned. His eyes were sharp, his uniform perfect. You know we are still at war. I know, Cole said. Then you also know you are our enemy. I know that too. Virak stepped forward, studying him like a scientist studies something unusual. Captain Sika's words carry weight, but the High Council will not listen just because she speaks kindly of a human. Cole met his eyes, then listened to what she's trying to say. This war is killing both sides. There are better options than burning everything down. Virak frowned. You speak like a diplomat. No, Cole replied. I speak like a soldier who's tired of seeing friends die. The commander's gaze didn't soften, but he didn't dismiss him either. We've reviewed your service records, Virak said. You fought with honor. Your commanders thought you were dead. Cole nodded slowly. Let them keep thinking that for now. Why? Because I want to protect her. Virak studied him for a long moment. Then he said, if you stay on this ship, you may never be allowed to return to your kind. I've already made my choice. The commander was quiet. Then finally he said, she will need prosthetics. She cannot return to combat as she is. She doesn't need to fight anymore, Cole said. She's done enough. Virak raised an eyebrow. You care for her? Cole didn't answer at first. Then he said, she was left behind by her people. I stayed. That changed both of us. You are either incredibly brave, Virak said, or very foolish. Cole gave a small smile. Maybe both. That night, Virak made a decision. Captain Seika would be fitted with synthetic limbs built, not just for movement, but for balance and strength. Not as a soldier, but as someone who still had a voice in the Valari command, and Cole would stay aboard the ship as her guardian, not a prisoner, not quite a guest. Something in between. Days passed. Sika's new legs were attached. At first, she struggled with movement, but she learned quickly. Faster than expected. Cole trained with her in the ship's lower chambers. She relearned how to stand, walk, and eventually run again, though her steps were not the same. She didn't fight with the same fury. Something in her had changed. She was not the weapon she once was. She was something more. One evening, after a long session, she sat on a bench, sweat dripping down her brow. Cole handed her a drink. She took it and said, You know, they're still watching us. I know, he replied. You should be careful. Some here think I've gone soft. Cole sat beside her. Have you? She looked at him. No, I've just learned there's more than one kind of strength. He nodded. Then we show them. What if they don't want to see it? Then we make them. That night, the two of them stood before the senior Valari officers. Seika gave a full report about the battlefield, her injuries, her survival. But she didn't stop there. She told him about Cole, how he saved her, how he protected her, how he never left. Many officers looked disturbed, some angry. One called her actions disgraceful, but she didn't flinch. When they finished yelling, she said calmly, You abandoned me. He didn't. I will not forget that. And I will not follow those who see mercy as weakness. Silence filled the room. Cole stood beside her, saying nothing, but his presence spoke volumes. Two enemies, standing as one. The room was divided now. Whispers followed them out. Something had shifted, and deep inside, they both knew a storm was coming. The ship was quiet. Too quiet. Whispers moved through the halls like ghosts. Ever since Seika gave her report, the Valari ranks had been shaken. Some respected her more than ever. Others saw her as a traitor. And Cole, the human, he was the symbol of everything they didn't understand. Seika stood on the observation deck now, her new legs moving with strength and grace. The artificial limbs were sharp, black steel with smooth movement. She stood tall again. Not as a warrior, but as someone reborn. Cole stood beside her, hands behind his back, watching the stars. They're preparing something, he said quietly. I know. They don't want peace. Not all of them. No, Seika said. But some do. That's enough. Outside the window, a second Valkyrie ship drifted close. It was a warship smaller, faster, and heavily armed. It hadn't sent greetings. It hadn't responded to hails. It's not here to talk, Cole muttered. Suddenly, red lights flashed. Alarms echoed through the corridor. Incoming message. From the warship. Surrender Captain Seika and the human, or be fired upon. The crew froze. Commander Viruk stormed into the deck. It's the hardliners. The ones who think you've shamed our kind. They're going to kill us, Cole said flatly. No, Seika replied. They're going to test who we really are. She stepped forward. I'll go, she said. Viruk turned. No. Yes. I'll speak to them directly. Alone. That's suicide. They need to see my face. Not just words. I'll go with her, Cole said. No, Seika turned to him. You've done enough. Cole shook his head. No. We do this together. That's the point of all this. She stared at him for a long time. Then slowly nodded. The two of them boarded a transport pod. As it launched toward the enemy warship, silence filled the cabin. No one spoke. The future of everything, peace or more war, rested on the next few minutes. Inside the enemy ship, they were greeted with guns. Cole didn't flinch. Saika stood tall. The warship's commander, a sharp-eyed Valari named Krell, stepped forward. You disgrace your uniform. You bring a human here like he's your equal. Seika answered calmly. He's more than that. He's the reason I'm standing here. And the reason I believe our people still have hope. You speak weakness. I speak truth. Krell raised his weapon. Then die with your truth. But before he could fire, a second voice cut through the tension. Stand down. It was Viruk. His voice echoed through a hidden channel, broadcast through their own comms. Behind Krell, several of his own soldiers turned, surprised. We've transmitted her full report to the council, Viruk's voice said. Her logs, her wounds, her journey. If you fire on her now, it won't silence her. It will prove she was right. Krell hesitated. His grip tightened. Then one of his soldiers lowered his weapon. Another followed. Krell stood alone now, still, fuming, but he was no longer in control. He dropped his weapon to the floor and hissed, "This war is dying." Seika met his eyes. Then let it. She and Cole turned and walked out together. Back on the main ship, things changed. Slowly. The High Council demanded hearings. Talks began quietly, carefully. But for the first time, Valari and humans shared a room without drawing weapons. Captain Seika was no longer a commander. She was something more. Bridge. Cole stood at her side through all of it. He had been a soldier, a survivor, an enemy. Now, he was a symbol. Of mercy, of courage, of humanity. And as the stars shifted in the sky, the war that had burned for years began to fade, not through victory, but through one moment of compassion, and the decision of a soldier who refused to leave someone behind.